So, I am Jolene Carter, 32. For 3 years straight, nobody in my family ever once said thanks for me paying their mortgage. They just assumed I'd do it. I was the reliable one. The one who never made a fuss. And honestly, I let it slide. Used their disrespect as a kind of wall, kept me safe from all the expecting and the fake thank yous. That all broke Saturday night. I was scrolling, half watching TV, and there it was. One photo, one caption, 6 words that hit harder than they should have. Family only. We finally have everyone together. Anyone scrolling past would have just seen a nice party post, but I knew it wasn't a celebration. It was a delete button. That post made official what had been true for years. I wasn't part of this. In like half a second, the whole invisible daughter thing dropped off me. What came up instead was something colder, sharper. The brain of someone who was just done. My family thought I was harmless. A quiet ATM they could ignore between withdrawals? Yeah, they had no idea. Has this ever happened to you? Cut out by the people you bled for? Paid somebody's bills just to get erased? Drop a comment. I want to hear it. We do stories like this every day on this channel. Family stuff, money manipulation, taking your power back. Hit subscribe so you don't miss how this one plays out, because trust me, it gets worse before it gets better. It had always been like this. Ava was the sun. I was the shadow trailing behind her. When we were kids, she'd draw these messy stick figures for Mother's Day, and Mom would frame them like they were Picassos. I once brought home a blue ribbon from a state science fair, folded into a drawer before dinner. Mom said she didn't want me getting a big head. Even as a little kid, I figured out the math. Ava's smallest effort got applause. My best work just got expected. It only got worse as we got older. Family car broke down. I wired money from my first real job. Dad's medical bills started piling up. Another check, and I pretended not to notice that nobody said thanks. They just went quiet. Every crisis, my phone lit up. Not for a chat, for a transaction. I told myself I was helping because it was the right thing. But yeah, a part of me kept hoping they'd finally notice me. They didn't. Ava's life fell apart before mine even got going. Married young, divorced young. Came back home with boxes of clothes and a wrecked ego. Mom welcomed her like she'd come back from a war. I literally heard her tell a neighbor, "Ava's doing her best. Poor thing." When I visited that weekend, I offered to take Ava out for dinner. She said no, too tired. Later that night, I overheard Mom telling Dad I didn't understand real struggle. I almost laughed. Paying off their bills wasn't real struggle. Apparently. Living in Albany gave me some distance, but it also became evidence, proof I was cold. Every time I skipped a family dinner because of work, Mom would sigh and tell relatives, "Jolene's too busy for family." I worked hard. I earned every promotion. But to them, I was just the one who drifted off. the actual truth, being near them hurt. The closer I got, the more invisible I felt. Dad, Robert, was a quiet guy. Never really pushed back against Mom. When she'd start in on me, he'd just mutter, "You know how your mother is." Like that fixed it. One time, after a really tense dinner, I asked him why he never said anything. He looked down at his plate. Keeping the peace is easier than being right. That's when I got it. His silence wasn't neutral. It was loyalty. Just not to me. Years went by. Phone calls that always started with, "How's work?" and ended with, "Can you help with?" The roof, Ava's rent, some extra cash. I gave. Not because I'm generous, because saying no felt worse than just paying. It wasn't until recently I noticed it. They only called when something was broken. When everything was fine, I didn't exist. Sometimes, late at night, I'd scroll through old family photos. Ava's arm always around Mom. Dad standing right next to them. And me, off to the side, smiling, half cropped out of the frame. Not on purpose, I told myself. But deep down, yeah, it was the whole picture. There was no real meanness to it. Just habit. I was background. The reliable one. The invisible one. People say family is unconditional. Mine came with terms and interest rates. I was the safety net under all their lives. Stretched thin, never named. For a long time, I told myself love meant sacrifice. Now I'm not so sure. Maybe it was just convenience. A week before the party, Mom called. Her voice had that careful, sweet tone, the one that always meant something bad was coming. She hoped I was doing well. Said work must be keeping me busy. Said she and Dad were finalizing the seating chart for the anniversary dinner. I could already feel where this was going. There were only so many seats at the restaurant, she explained. Cousins had confirmed last minute. Old friends, too. Things got complicated. She hoped I'd understand. It wasn't personal. She loved me very much. I was at my desk on speakerphone, half distracted by my computer fan humming. The words didn't hurt right away. They just sat there, waiting for me to catch up. I told her it was fine. Enjoy the night. She sounded relieved, almost cheerful when she hung up. An hour later, Ava texted, "Don't take it personally," with a smiley emoji. I stared at it way too long. Ava had this gift, turning sympathy into a little flex. The text wasn't comfort. It was a victory lap. She knew I'd been cut, and she wanted to make sure I knew she knew. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Eventually just left it. That night at the office, Nina noticed I was off. She was the kind of coworker who never poked, but always picked up on stuff. We'd shared a cubicle row for 2 years. She'd learned my moods. She asked if I wanted to grab coffee before heading home. I said yeah, mostly so I'd stop thinking. There's this cafe on the corner. Place has a wobbly table by the window, and they always burn the espresso. We sat there, and she waited for me to talk first. I told her about Mom's call, the seating thing, Ava's text. Nina stirred her drink really slowly. Her eyes were calm, but kind of sharp. "They only love the version of you that pays the bills," she said. Just dropped it. Like that. I almost laughed. It sounded harsh. but it was also just true. Nina didn't say it to be mean. She said it because she could see what I wouldn't. I told her I'd always been the one sending money when something broke, that my parents only called when there was a problem to fix. She nodded, like she'd already figured it out. Then, stop fixing everything. I wanted to say it wasn't that simple, that families don't break cleanly, but honestly, I didn't know how to stop. Walking out of the cafe, the air felt colder than it should have been. The city lights smeared across the wet pavement. For a second, I pictured Mom and Ava somewhere warm, deciding where to seat everyone for dinner. I wondered if there'd ever been a time I was needed instead of just a problem to manage. That night, I went online and ordered them a gift. Nothing fancy. A small silver photo frame engraved with 30 years of love. I thought maybe it'd help. A little bridge. I wrapped it myself, wrote a short card. Congratulations. Wishing you both many more happy years. Mailed it the next morning. Went on with my day. 3 days later, a box on my doorstep. Mom's handwriting on the return label. Inside was the frame, untouched, with a note, "We already have too much." I stood in the hallway holding the box. Didn't know whether to be mad or just embarrassed. The words were polite. The message was not. My effort wasn't needed. Same as me. That night Ava called. Voice bright with that fake concerned tone that always made my stomach knot up. She said Mom didn't mean to hurt my feelings. Just a misunderstanding. I shouldn't be so sensitive. I told her I wasn't upset. My throat was tight when I said it. Before hanging up, she said, "You know how Mom gets when she's planning something big." Yeah, I knew exactly how Mom got. What stung more was Ava always covering for her, even when she knew it was wrong. After the call, I sat by the window. Snow was starting to fall. The city was quiet, and my reflection looked tired. I thought about what Nina had said, that maybe they only loved the version of me that provided, that stayed quiet, that didn't ask for a seat. For the first time, I wondered if love built on obligation was even love. I didn't cry. I just felt calm. The weird kind of calm that shows up when you give up expecting more. I unplugged my phone and went to bed early. There was nothing left to say. Next week would come. The dinner would happen. I wouldn't be there. What surprised me was how little that hurt now. Saturday night, my feed froze on one post. I just finished wiping down my counters, trying not to think about the dinner happening across town. Wasn't expecting anything. But the second I opened the app, there it was. Ava's post. Right at the top, like it had been waiting for me. The picture loaded slow, pixel by pixel, until I could see everyone standing in front of the restaurant, all of them in coordinated white outfits, smiling like the whole night was some perfect love and harmony portrait. Mom and Dad in the middle, hands linked, surrounded by relatives, friends, neighbors I barely recognized. Caption: Family only. We finally have everyone together. My thumb hovered. For a second, I thought, okay, maybe she just posted it without realizing how it would land. Then I scrolled to the comments. Mom's name was first. Couldn't be prouder. Just sitting there, like a signature on my exclusion. Heart emojis underneath. Family friends. People saying how beautiful everyone looked. How close the Carters were. Each one was another tiny cut. I read the caption again and again, like reading it more times would change what it meant. It didn't. The longer I stared, the colder I felt. The white clothes, the smiles, the whole staged thing. That wasn't a celebration. That was a performance. My family didn't want honesty. They wanted the picture. They wanted to look close, even if close meant pretending I wasn't there. My eyes blurred a little. I refused to cry. Instead, I scrolled back up, tapped the comment box, and typed what came out. Congrats! Mortgage and taxes are all yours now. Wasn't loud, wasn't vulgar, but it was true. 3 years. I was the reason that house still existed. Every check, every transfer, every quiet payment came from me. That photo wouldn't even exist without me. I hit post, watched the words land under Ava's perfect caption. Then I locked my phone and put it face down. 15 minutes later, I picked it up. Post was gone. Notification bar was going crazy. Messages, missed calls, the numbers kept climbing. 10, 20, 30. Mom's name came up the most. I didn't answer. Just sat there watching the phone buzz on the table, feeling each vibration. When it finally stopped, a text came in. How could you embarrass us like that? You're being selfish. I put the phone face down again and leaned back. Let the quiet settle in. Selfish. That word just kept repeating in my head until it didn't really mean anything anymore. I'd been called a lot of things. Cold, distant, too focused. Selfish was a new one. My chest got tight, not from guilt, disbelief. After everything, every bill, every late payment I fixed, they still found a way to make me the bad guy. I stood by the window. The snow had picked up. Quiet, steady. Somewhere across town, they were probably still laughing. Or already home. Full, satisfied. I pictured Mom telling everyone about my comment. Ava defending the post. Dad saying nothing. That last part, at least, I was sure of. I made tea just to have something to do with my hands. The kettle hissed. Steam filled up my little kitchen. I thought about the past 3 years. Every time I logged into my account to send the mortgage payment, telling myself it was temporary. That one day, things would shift. I never even questioned it. Family needed help. Good daughters helped. I didn't even put my name on the deed. Told myself I didn't need the credit. Standing there, it just hit me. I wasn't only cut from their table. I'd been cut from their gratitude a long time ago. They didn't see me as a person. They saw a resource. And that perfect photo, that was the proof. They could erase me from the picture, but not from the bills keeping their whole life standing. Phone rang again. I let it. If I picked up, Mom would talk first. Disappointed tone, no actual regret. She'd tell me family shouldn't air dirty laundry online, that appearances mattered more than feelings. And she'd never get the irony that I'd been keeping their appearances going for years. Eventually, the calls stopped. The apartment got quiet again. Just the low hum of the heater. I sat on the couch with my tea getting cold and thought about Nina's voice in the cafe. They only love the version of you that pays the bills. It wasn't just a smart line. It was a prediction. I looked at my phone one more time, then turned it all the way off. The screen went dark. For the first time that night, the quiet actually felt good. Somewhere under the hurt, something shifted. Maybe anger. Maybe something else. I didn't know yet. All I knew was I was done being the invisible sponsor of their perfect picture. 2 weeks went by, and silence got expensive. I'd stopped sending the mortgage the same day I decided I was done explaining myself. For 3 years, that account had clicked out the same payment every month like clockwork. No thanks. No mention. The second I cut that off, the quiet that followed was heavier than I thought it'd be. First week was just still. Second week started to hum. Tuesday morning, message from Mom. The bank keeps calling. They said something about missed payments. Is everything all right? Written with that fake confusion. The kind that hides an accusation underneath being polite. I read it twice. Didn't answer. Few hours later, another one. We didn't want to bother you, but they say it's urgent. Urgent was always her favorite. Guilt button. I could almost hear the practiced sigh between the lines. The tone of a mom who thought love meant control. By Friday, Ava jumped in. Public post. For everyone. Some people forget who raised them. With a photo of her holding Mom's hand. Comments were exactly what you'd expect. Sympathy. Validation. Nye. Stay strong. Family can hurt the most. That kind of thing. Ava replied to every single one with heart emojis and crying faces, playing the role she'd practiced for years. Devoted daughter. Loyal sister. Victim of someone else's coldness. I scrolled the thread once, closed the app, dropped the phone on the couch. I wasn't going to give them a reaction, but ignoring them didn't stop what was coming. 3 days later, an envelope from the bank showed up. I thought it was a mistake at first. I didn't live in that house. All the financial stuff was supposed to be clean, except the payments I chose to send. The envelope was heavy, thick paper, official looking. I tore it open and scanned the first page. My name printed in bold across the top. Jolene Carter, borrower and guarantor. I just stopped breathing for a second. The letter wasn't about late payments. It was about a new refinance. Numbers I didn't recognize. Bigger numbers, riskier ones. The house had been refinanced under my name 2 months back. I read it again, looking for a typo, a printing error, anything. Every signature line was mine. every identifier. Mine. Next morning, I called the bank. After getting bounced through 3 departments, a calm voice introduced himself as Ethan Davis, account manager. Miss Carter, I see your inquiry about the refinance. How can I help? I asked him to verify the details. He paused. Then, the refinance was processed in July. Primary borrowers are Robert and Evelyn Carter, with your signature authorizing the guarantee. My pulse went somewhere weird. I never signed anything, I said. Can you send me the documents? He paused again. We have electronic copies on file. The signature matches prior authorizations. It looks consistent. Consistent. That word hit like a slap. Oh, somebody had used my digital signature. My saved authorization stuff from old transactions. I pushed for more. Timestamps. IP addresses. How exactly the signing was confirmed. Ethan got careful. Legally, I can provide that through a formal request. But if you're suggesting fraud, we can open an internal review. The room felt smaller while he talked. The air got sharp. I thanked him, wrote down his name, hung up. Then I just sat there staring at the statement spread across my desk. My parents hadn't just leaned on me. They'd crossed into theft, used the trust I'd built with them as the weapon. Mom's messages kept coming. Honey, we need to talk. Then, you're being unreasonable. Then, you're tearing this family apart. I didn't reply to any of them. Each message was just more proof. Their love had conditions. It was never about care. It was about whether I cooperated. That night, I scrolled back through old emails, and there it was. An automated message from the bank, 2 months old, labeled Refinance Confirmation. I'd ignored it back then. Figured it was spam. The PDF attached told the whole story. The form was digitally signed under my name, using the email and access credentials tied to the joint account I'd once shared with Dad for transfers. I'd left that access open, trusted them not to use it. That trust was their way in. I printed everything, highlighted every date, every code, every name. The stack got thick. Each page was just more evidence of betrayal. By the time I hit the last page, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from it finally being clear. There was no misunderstanding. They hadn't tripped into this. They planned it. The refinance needed 2 verifications. Both went through within 10 minutes of each other. Somebody in that house knew exactly what they were doing. Later, looking out at the snow-covered street, I figured something out. Quiet betrayal sounds different when it stops being emotional and starts being evidence. For years, I'd been their safety net. Now, I was their collateral. I sat down, opened my laptop, started drafting an email, not to Mom, not to Ava, to Ethan Davis. Subject line: Formal dispute of fraudulent authorization. My hands stopped shaking. My breathing slowed. Every word I typed was careful, specific. Attached the evidence. Asked for an immediate freeze on the account. I hit send. The quiet came back, but this time it didn't feel heavy. It felt earned. I wasn't frozen anymore. They were. By late October, the truth had started collecting interest. The cold in the air matched whatever had taken root in me. I met with Clark Benson, real estate attorney, known for being precise and patient. His office was packed with case files, shelves full of quiet wins. He read through my documents in silence. His eyes only narrowed once when he hit the refinance agreement. Then he leaned back and looked at me. Miss Carter, this is textbook forgery. The electronic authorization was reused without consent. Whoever accessed your credentials committed fraud. Didn't surprise me, but hearing it said out loud made something in my chest finally settle. It wasn't a suspicion I was carrying alone anymore. It was a legal fact. Clark walked me through the next steps. How we'd report it, freeze the account, start a civil complaint. I nodded through most of it, felt this weird calm, like standing in a downpour and realizing you can't actually get any wetter. When I left his office, the folder felt heavier than before. Not the paper, the clarity in it. That afternoon, Ethan emailed. Attached were transaction logs, timestamps, system records, all of it pointing at my parents' account activity during the refinance. I hope this helps you, Miss Carter. I'm sorry this happened. I thanked him. No apology was going to fix the fact that my family had turned my trust into collateral. 3 days later, Eva's name showed up on my phone. Short message. Mom wants to have brunch. Just us. It's time to talk. I almost deleted it, but something in me wanted closure, not a reunion. Closure. I wrote back, where and when? Sunday morning. I got to the cafe 15 minutes early. Place smelled like cinnamon and burnt espresso. The comfort smell didn't match the tightness in my chest at all. I took a table by the window, put the folder next to my cup, waited. A few minutes later, Ava walked in, Mom and Dad behind her. Mom was dressed perfectly, like the right outfit could rewrite what happened. Dad's shoulders were heavy. He kept his eyes on the floor. Ava started with a smile that was too bright. Jolene, we're glad you came. Things got messy. Let's clear the air. Rehearsed. Her charm was just a shield. Mom nodded along, stirring her coffee like it was a meditation. We all made mistakes, she said, but we're family. We can fix this. I looked at her, then at the folder. Fix? I said. You used my name for your loan. The words just dropped, like glass hitting tile. Ava froze. Mom's hand twitched. Dad didn't move. That's not true, Ava said fast, eyes flicking to Mom. You must be mistaken. Maybe the bank. I opened the folder and slid a printed page across the table. My name above the digital signature. Timestamped. Verified. The bank didn't do this, I said. You did. Mom's lips parted. Nothing came out. Her usual calm face cracked. Dad's silence got louder than any confession. You could hear the coffee machine behind us, just hissing into the empty space. I reached into my bag and pulled out my phone. You want to talk about mistakes? Hit play on a voicemail. One she'd left a few weeks back. Her voice filled the cafe, sharp, pleading. The bank keeps calling, Jolene. We need your help. You know we can't lose the house. You'll take care of it, right? The color drained from her face. Ava's jaw locked, like if she got angry enough, she could undo the evidence. Oh, you didn't have to go this far, she said through her teeth. I held her stare. You didn't have to steal from me. Mom finally whispered, we only did it to keep everything together. For the family. I gathered the papers back into the folder. Keep it together without me. I stood, put cash on the table for the bill, added quietly, I've already filed to remove my name from the loan and end all support. The bank and the court will handle the rest. Nobody spoke, just spoons tapping ceramic, filling the silence. I didn't feel triumphant, just released. The weight that had been sitting on my chest for months, gone. I walked toward the door. Outside, the October air bit at my skin. Crisp, cold, clean. The cafe windows reflected them, still sitting there, still small. Ahead of me, the street stretched open. Quiet, waiting. For the first time in years, I walked without looking back. 3 months later, the house went quiet. The street that used to echo with Mom's morning gardening music and Dad's careful footsteps. Now, it was just winter wind hitting the shutters. The for sale sign that used to be their pride had a red sticker on it. Bank-owned. I drove past it once, on my way to drop off paperwork at the county office. Weird feeling. Like seeing the ghost of something I used to protect. Foreclosure moved fast. Without my payments, and with the fraud case under review, the mortgage defaulted in weeks. Bank repossessed before Christmas. Furniture went into storage. The garden died off. Front porch lights stopped coming on at night. The neighbors talked. Of course they did. Families like ours were supposed to be respectable, not on the local foreclosure list. Ava moved out first. I heard from Ethan she'd been crashing with a friend across town. Pull-out couch in a tiny apartment. The same girl who used to post photos of family unity scrubbed every smile off her feed. Her socials went dark. When the bank's legal team contacted her for a deposition, she ghosted them. That didn't last. A month later, the DA's office filed a civil complaint against her for falsifying financial documents during the refinance. Clark forwarded the notice to me without a word. He didn't need to say anything. The consequences had finally come home. Mom found someone new to blame. She called once, long after the house was gone. Voice brittle. A whisper. Almost. You didn't have to destroy us. You could have helped. I didn't answer. There were too many layers of irony in that sentence to even start peeling. She never mentioned the forged documents, or the lies that got them there. To her, I was still the ungrateful daughter who wouldn't fall in line. Dad stayed quiet, as always. I wondered sometimes if he agreed with her, or if silence was just how he survived. Didn't really matter anymore. The family I'd tried to save had already fallen apart way before the bank took the house. First week of February, I moved into a new apartment in Rochester. Small place, but full of light. Windows that looked out over a narrow parkway where kids walked home from school every afternoon. I bought secondhand furniture, put it together myself, mostly. For the first time in years, every single thing in the room belonged only to me. No mortgage notice, no debt collector, no voice demanding an explanation for anything. Just quiet. Every morning I'd brew coffee and watch the snow come down over the city. Sometimes I thought about Ava, wondered if she blamed me or if she'd ever actually see it. Other times I thought about Mom's garden. How she used to say, "You can't grow anything in the cold." She was wrong. Some things grow best in the cold. Clarity, boundaries, self-respect. When the final court ruling came in, it confirmed what Clark had told me months back. My name was officially off the fraudulent loan. Liability went back to the original borrowers. The judge noted the deliberate misuse of personal authorization, used the phrase intentional misrepresentation. Reading those words, I didn't feel satisfaction, just closure. A clean ending I'd needed, but didn't think I'd actually get. Ethan sent a short email that afternoon. The case is closed. I wish you the best moving forward. I wrote back 2 words. Thank you. Nothing else to say. He'd been professional, kind, honest. Words that felt rare in my vocabulary of family stuff. At night, the apartment got really quiet, but not lonely. I learned the rhythm of being on my own. Cooked dinner for one. Read books without checking my phone. Sometimes, just let music fill the space. The stillness that used to scare me, that was proof of survival now. I stopped waiting for apologies, explanations, whatever redemption was supposed to look like. Some stories don't end with everyone hugging. Some just end. One evening, I found an old photo in my drawer. Family portrait from years back. All of us standing in front of that same house before any of this turned into a news story. We looked happy then. Maybe because we believed we were. I stared at it for a long time, then slipped it back into the envelope. The past could stay archived. I had no use for it. Life in Rochester wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. I paid my rent, my bills, slept without checking my phone for some new emergency. I stopped measuring my worth in sacrifice. My peace didn't need witnesses or likes or anyone's approval. It just needed room to exist. On my last night before spring, I stood by the window and watched the city lights blur into the falling snow. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was a life I'd chosen. And as I turned off the lights and walked toward my quiet room, one thought just landed. Peace was the most expensive thing I ever bought.